Chapter 1. The Plea Beneath the Ruins. The sky over Trilaxis 7 was a muted canvas, bruised purple and dull red from the ever-present dust storms that churned relentlessly across its scarred surface. The remnants of a civilization that had thrived for millennia lay scattered like broken toys beneath a dying sun, the skeletal ruins of towering spires and domes that had once touched the stars now reduced to crumbling shards half buried in ash and debris. The air was heavy with the metallic tang of rusted machinery and the acrid smell of burnt circuits, mingled with the faintest trace of something organic, something desperately clinging to life. It was here, amid the wreckage of forgotten dreams, that a single figure moved with agonizing slowness, her limbs trembling from exhaustion and hunger, yet fueled by a will more stubborn than the planet's unyielding wasteland. She was tall but gaunt, her elongated limbs fragile as bone beneath stretched, translucent skin mottled with faint violet veins. Her four-fingered hands delicate and strangely beautiful in their alien shape scrabbled at the cracked ground, searching for any sign of sustenance. The faded fabric of her once elegant garment, adorned with the emblem of the HFY Council, hung in tatters around her emaciated frame, swaying weakly as the wind howled through the broken towers. Her face, a haunting blend of grace and desperation, was streaked with dirt and tears, the large opaline eyes shimmering with a depth of sorrow that seemed to hold the weight of entire worlds. Around her neck hung a small woven talisman, pulsing faintly with an eerie bioluminescence, a relic from her home, a last connection to a family she feared was lost forever. 15 days. She had counted each agonizing day since the last meal, since the last drop of nourishment passed her lips. 15 days without food. Her body weakened, every movement now a monumental effort, muscles burning with the slow onset of starvation. Yet it was not her own suffering that drove her forward, it was the soft whimper beside her, barely audible over the storm's fury. The small shape curled at her side was fragile and trembling, a wailing infant of her own species, its delicate wings folded tightly against its chest, eyes closed in pain and hunger. The infant's tiny body was gaunt, ribs protruding beneath thin, shimmering skin that reflected the faint light in hues of deep indigo and silver. She had promised herself she would protect this child at all costs. She was its mother, a mother with nothing left but hope. The barren wasteland stretched endlessly before them, an unforgiving landscape dotted with the remnants of machines that once harnessed unimaginable power, now silent, broken monuments to a forgotten age. The ground was littered with shards of alloy and glass, the detritus of wars fought long ago by empires who cared little for the smallest life struggling beneath their feet. She scanned the horizon, her mind racing to recall any shelter or safe haven that might offer refuge. But Trilaxis 7 was no longer kind. Its cities had fallen, its people scattered or exterminated. The last transmissions from the HFY Council had spoken only of retreat and despair, of hope snuffed out like a candle in a gale. And yet, she crawled on. Her body ached with every movement, bones brittle, her heart pounding weakly against the cage of her ribs. The bioluminescent talisman pulsed brighter, a faint signal sent into the void in desperation, a silent call to any who might hear it. Her mind clung to a distant memory, a human voice she had heard once, during a fleeting encounter when she had fled the chaos of the capital city. The humans had seemed curious, their eyes filled with something foreign yet compassionate. Could there be salvation in their hands? Was there a chance that amidst the stars, a single human might hear her cry and offer aid? The thought ignited a fragile spark of hope in her failing heart. Suddenly, a flicker of movement caught her eye. From behind the ruins of a shattered tower, a figure emerged, tall, clad in rugged armor, face obscured by a visor that reflected the dying light. The figure moved cautiously but with purpose, a subtle grace that spoke of countless battles fought and survived. She raised a trembling hand in silent plea, the faint glow of her talisman drawing his gaze. The figure stopped, scanning the desolation, then took a step forward, drawn by something beyond curiosity, perhaps the primal pull of compassion that defied species and war alike. As he approached, she could see the fatigue etched into his features beneath the visor, the dirt and sweat of long travel mingling with an intensity that made her heart flutter. She gathered the last reserves of her strength, her voice a rasping whisper, breaking the silence of the wasteland. "Please, help me. I haven't eaten in 15 days. The words hung in the air, fragile and raw, carrying the weight of desperation and a mother's fierce determination to save her child. The human knelt beside her, the visor lifting to reveal eyes that were both weary and kind. His hands, gloved but gentle, reached out, offering water and nourishment from a compact pack. The alien mother's lips trembled as she accepted, tears of relief mingling with the dust on her cheeks. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, the cold grip of starvation loosened, replaced by a fragile thread of hope woven by the kindness of a stranger from another world. Behind the human, the vast desolation of Tralaxis 7 stretched endlessly, but in this small moment, amid the ruins and the dying winds, life had found a foothold. The alien mother clung to the human's outstretched hand, a silent vow passing between them, a vow that this child would survive, that this planet's forgotten souls might yet find a chance for redemption in the hearts of those willing to listen. And as the storm raged on, their fates intertwined beneath a fractured sky, bound by a single cry that echoed across the stars. "Please help me." The human's hand, rough yet reassuring, hovered over the small package of synthesized nutrients he offered, a compact container designed to sustain travelers lost in the void of space. He broke the seal carefully, extracting a gel-like substance that shimmered faintly under the dim light of the dying sun. The alien mother's fingers, frail and trembling, reached out to accept the gift. Her lips parted, and with the utmost reverence, she allowed the gel to touch her tongue. The taste was foreign sweet, yet tangy, an alien cocktail crafted by human science, but it flooded her starving cells with vitality, sending a shiver of relief through her shattered body. Her eyes fluttered closed as energy crept slowly back into her limbs. Beside her, the infant stirred, tiny wings quivering in a feeble attempt to reach for sustenance. The mother gently lifted the small being to her breast, where a glowing pod embedded beneath her skin exuded a soft luminescence, the source of nourishment for her child. But the pod had weakened with her own starvation. The child's cries were thin and desperate, threatening to fade into silence. The human, watching with keen sympathy, produced a small device, a universal nutrient injector designed for emergencies. With utmost care, he administered a few doses, watching as the infant's breathing steadied and its pale skin regained a faint iridescence. For a moment, the ruined world around them faded. There was only the fragile miracle of life clinging stubbornly to existence. The human's eyes met hers again, and in that silent exchange was a profound understanding. Despite the endless wars and shattered empires, despite the vast gulf between their species, the instinct to protect and nurture transcended all boundaries. It was an ancient truth as old as the stars themselves. But even as the alien mother regained strength, a storm of questions clouded her mind. Who was this human? Why had he come to this forsaken planet? And most urgently, how long could this fragile reprieve last? She knew that beyond the ruins lurked dangers far worse than hunger, the merciless raiders who scavenged the dying worlds, and the cold void of space that swallowed the weak without mercy. Her child's survival depended not only on this human's kindness, but on the hope that the galaxy had not yet forgotten them. The human, sensing her silent turmoil, finally spoke, his voice rough but steady, tinged with an accent shaped by years among the stars. "You're not alone anymore. I'm here to help. Tell me what happened. How did you come to be here like this?" His question was simple, but beneath it lay the weight of a promise, to listen, to understand, and to protect. The alien mother took a shuddering breath and began to recount the story of her people, the Great Ivani, once a proud civilization of scholars and explorers who had dared to unlock secrets of the cosmos forbidden even to the oldest empires. Their thirst for knowledge had made them targets, their power seen as a threat. A devastating war had erupted, tearing apart their worlds and scattering their people to the stars. She had fled with her infant, seeking refuge on Tralaxis 7, only to find desolation. Starvation, loss, and despair had followed. But through it all, she had clung to the hope of salvation. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the ruins into shadows, the human prepared to make camp. His armor bore the insignia of the United Earth Federation, a coalition that had long extended a hand to distant species in times of need. He spoke quietly of aid missions, of safe havens hidden in the stars, and of a future where survival was not a battle fought alone. The alien mother listened, her heart flickering with the possibility of something she had thought lost: trust. And so, beneath the bruised sky of a dying world, a fragile alliance was born. The human and the alien mother, bound by a plea for life and a promise to fight against the darkness together. Chapter 2. Journey into the Unknown. The first light of dawn broke over Tralaxis 7 with a pale, sickly glow that barely penetrated the heavy clouds of dust and ash. The air was still, save for the soft murmur of distant winds weaving through the ruins, whispering tales of forgotten glories and ancient betrayals. The alien mother stirred beside the fire, now slightly stronger, though her body still bore the marks of starvation and exhaustion. Her child, nestled safely in a sling against her chest, blinked slowly, eyes wide and curious beneath long lashes that shimmered like liquid silver. The human stood a few feet away, his silhouette framed by the wreckage of a fallen monolith, gazing out across the barren landscape. His mind raced with possibilities and dangers. Tralaxis 7 was no place for the weak, and they had precious little time before the scavengers returned or the planet's toxic atmosphere worsened with the coming storm. Yet the human's resolve was unshaken. He had answered a cry for help, and now, it was his mission to ensure that it did not go unanswered. As he approached the alien mother, he carried with him a compact pack of supply-synthesized food, water purifiers, and medical kits designed for use in the harshest environments. He knelt down carefully, offering the contents with a gentle smile. "We need to move soon. There's a relay station about 50 clicks east. If we can reach it, I can call for a shuttle to evacuate you and your child. It won't be easy, but it's the best chance you've got." The mother's eyes flickered with cautious hope. She had heard of such relay stations, ancient outposts scattered across the galaxy, remnants of a once mighty communication network. But to a starving soul, 50 kilometers across hostile terrain was a journey that might as well have been 1,000 light years. Still, with no other choice, she nodded. The human's determination bolstered her own faltering strength. Together, they set out. The journey was grueling. The ground beneath their feet was a patchwork of jagged metal debris and glass shards, remnants of a battlefield where entire fleets had clashed in fire and fury. Each step threatened to cut or twist an ankle, yet they pressed on. The alien child whimpered occasionally, hunger and fatigue gnawing at its tiny frame, but the mother's warmth and the human's steady presence were a balm against despair. Along the way, the human shared stories of Earth, of sprawling cities, oceans vast and deep, and a species that had once dreamed of reaching the stars despite its own flaws. The alien mother listened intently, her mind a swirl of memories and newfound dreams. She had never imagined that across the cold void, a human heart could beat with such empathy and strength. But the wilderness of Tralaxis 7 was relentless. As the sun climbed higher, dark clouds began to gather, thickening the dust into choking curtains. The howls of scavengers echoed in the distance, creatures mutated by radiation and desperation, driven to hunt the living in this forsaken land. The human tightened his grip on the plasma rifle slung across his back, signaling the mother to stay close. Amidst the gathering storm, a sudden movement caught their eyes: a pack of four-legged beasts with glowing eyes and snarling maws, closing in fast. With no time to flee, the human raised his weapon, firing warning shots that cracked through the still air. The beasts hesitated but did not retreat. The alien mother, summoning strength from places she thought exhausted, shielded her child, eyes blazing with maternal fury. In that moment of peril, a bond forged in desperation became unbreakable. The human and the alien mother fought side by side, each breath a testament to survival, each heartbeat a promise to the child nestled between them. The scavengers recoiled, snarling but defeated, retreating into the shadows from which they came. Breathing heavily, the human turned to the mother, voice steady but urgent. "We're close. Just a bit further." Her nod was silent but resolute. With the child cradled against her, she rose and took the first step toward salvation, driven by a hope reborn in the kindness of a stranger from another world. The terrain stretched before them like a merciless labyrinth of jagged metal shards, deep craters, and scorched earth that seemed to swallow their every step. Tralaxis 7, once a beacon of civilization and interstellar trade, had become a wasteland of forgotten ambition and ruin. Dust swirled constantly, sometimes thick enough to choke, blurring the horizon and turning the sun into a dim, sickly or barely piercing the murk. Yet, despite the bleakness of the environment and the relentless gnawing of hunger and fatigue, the human and the alien mother pressed onward, propelled by a quiet urgency and the fragile flame of hope flickering between them. The child nestled against her breast whimpered softly, its feeble wings fluttering like fragile leaves caught in a gale. The mother's fingers brushed against the child's silken skin, her touch both a comfort and a fierce promise of survival. Every instinct she possessed screamed to protect, to shield this tiny life from the horrors that had consumed her people. Her own body still ached with exhaustion and starvation, but the human's presence was a balm, his steady footsteps beside her reminding her she was not alone in this desolate world. Ahead, the outline of the relay station shimmered faintly through the dust haze, a squat structure of reinforced alloy and ancient antennae, battered but standing against the ravages of time. It was a lifeline, a beacon to the greater galaxy beyond the dying planet. If they could reach it, the promise of rescue, of medical aid and shelter, was within reach. But the journey was far from over. The hostile wildlife, mutated by radiation and starvation, still prowled the shadows. The air was thick with tension, every rustle of wind a potential herald of attack. The human moved with cautious precision, scanning the landscape with sharp eyes honed by years of survival in war zones and forgotten frontiers. His weapon, a compact but powerful plasma rifle, was ready at his side, though he seldom aimed to kill. He had seen too many lives lost to recklessness, and now, with this alien mother and her child depending on him, every step had to be measured, every decision weighed. His mind flickered with memories of home-lush forests and bustling cities, voices of loved ones, and the hope that the fragile threads of compassion he now spun might weave a new tapestry of life on this forsaken world. As they crept closer to the station, a sudden tremor rippled through the ground, a warning that sent a chill through their veins. From the shadows emerged a pack of scavengers, hulking creatures with jagged claws and eyes glowing a malevolent red, the product of a planet's slow death twisting nature into nightmare. The beasts snarled and slavered, moving with terrifying speed toward the two travelers. The human's voice was calm but firm as he whispered, "Stay close. Don't panic." Without hesitation, the human raised his rifle and fired a series of precise warning shots, the blasts tearing through the dust-choked air. The beast snarled but paused, circling, sizing up their prey. The alien mother, gathering a fierce courage from deep within, stood protectively in front of her child, her eyes blazing with a fierce maternal light. She had survived famine and war. She would not be broken now. The standoff lasted only moments before the creatures backed down, their snarls fading into the swirling dust as they disappeared into the shadows. Breathing heavily, the human lowered his weapon and smiled briefly at the mother, a silent reassurance that their fight was far from over, but they would face it together. With renewed determination, they quickened their pace, the relay station's looming structure growing clearer through the thick haze. The human moved ahead to activate the ancient console, dust and dirt falling away as he brushed decades of neglect off the control panel. The machinery hummed uncertainly to life, lights flickering as the system rebooted. He called out urgently, his voice cutting through the still air, "I'm sending a distress beacon. Help is on the way." The mother held her child close, tears of relief streaming silently down her cheeks. For the first time in what felt like a lifetime, the crushing weight of despair lifted, replaced by the warm glow of hope. In this moment, beneath the broken sky of Tralaxis 7, a bond was forged not just of survival, but of trust between two species divided by stars, but united by heart. And so, with rescue summoned and the promise of salvation edging closer, the human and the alien mother prepared for what came next, knowing that the journey ahead would test the limits of their strength, courage, and the unbreakable bond between a mother and her child. The relay station's faint beacon pulsed steadily now, sending a quiet signal across the stars, a whisper of life from a dying world, a plea for aid from the edge of oblivion. The human glanced at the alien mother, whose eyes reflected a fragile mixture of exhaustion and hope. For all the devastation that had torn her world apart, for all the hunger and fear, this moment was a fragile victory. They had summoned help. But Tralaxis 7 was unforgiving, and time was an enemy as relentless as the shifting sands. The air grew colder, heavier, and the dust storm, once a distant menace, began to roar with sudden fury, swirling like a living beast eager to consume all that remained. The human quickly scanned the horizon. The ruins blurred and vanished in the rising gale, the storm's howling winds drowning out all but the most urgent sounds. "We need shelter, now," he said, his voice steady despite the urgency. The alien mother nodded, gripping her child closer as they sought refuge within the crumbled walls of the relay station. Inside, the hollow chamber was both sanctuary and tomb. Dust coated every surface, and the faint hum of dormant technology mingled with the distant roar outside. The human set up a small protective barrier using portable shields from his pack, creating a pocket of calm amid the chaos. They huddled close, the mother wrapping her child in warmth drawn from her own body's bioluminescent energy, while the human prepared nutrient packs, rationing their precious supplies carefully. Hours passed slowly. Outside, the storm raged with a cruel intensity, battering the fragile station with relentless fury. But inside, a fragile peace held. The human shared stories of his homeworld, vast blue oceans, endless forests, and sprawling cities filled with both wonders and failings. The alien mother listened, her spirit rekindled by tales of resilience and hope. Her own story poured forth, of a proud civilization brought low by war, of shattered families and lost homes, and of her fierce determination to protect her child at any cost. The child stirred, its small wings fluttering weakly but with growing strength. The mother smiled faintly, her heart a fragile beacon of light in the surrounding darkness. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the storm, "for answering my cry." The human nodded, a quiet promise in his gaze. "You're not alone anymore." Chapter 3: The Rescue and the Revelation. The storm's wrath finally began to abate as faint glimmers of distant lights pierced the swirling clouds' rescue. The human had contacted a nearby Federation outpost, and a small shuttle was en route, cutting through the tempest like a silver arrow. Relief washed over the alien mother as she prepared to leave the wasteland behind, her child cradled safely in her arms. When the shuttle landed, it was a vision of hope against the desolation, sleek, shining metal, humming with advanced technology and promise. The human helped the mother and child aboard, and the engines roared to life, lifting them away from the shattered planet below. As the shuttle ascended, the alien mother gazed out at the ruined world that had been her prison, her thoughts a tangle of sorrow and determination. But the rescue was only the beginning. On board the Federation station, as the child was tended to by medical specialists and the mother received nourishment and care, the human faced questions from curious officers and scientists eager to understand the tragedy that had unfolded on Tralaxis 7. What had caused such devastation? What secrets did this lost world hold? And why had the alien mother's plea reached a human so far from the front lines of galactic conflict? As the days passed, the bond between human and alien deepened. The mother, once a broken figure of despair, began to heal, her strength returning along with the hope of rebuilding her people's legacy. And the human, once a lone survivor wandering the fringes of space, found purpose in protecting this fragile life that had touched his heart. Yet, buried deep within the ruins of Tralaxis 7, a secret awaited an ancient power that could change the fate of entire worlds, a mystery that neither human nor alien was prepared for. Their journey had only just begun, and the true test of their courage and trust lay ahead. The Federation station, a sprawling bastion of advanced technology and interstellar diplomacy, hummed with quiet activity as the alien mother and her child settled into the sterile but safe environment. The once frail infant now stirred with renewed vigor, tiny limbs stretching as biotechnicians monitored its progress with awe and meticulous care. The alien mother, though still weakened by her ordeal, felt the warmth of hope rekindling within her, hope not just for survival, but for a future where her lineage might thrive again beyond the shadows of destruction. Her guardian and savior, the human who had answered her desperate cry, remained a constant presence. They communicated with growing familiarity despite the gulf of language and culture, their interactions marked by a profound mutual respect. The human, whose name was Yarok, had been assigned to assist her, not merely as a caretaker but as a liaison to the Federation's deeper investigations into the ruinous fate of Tralaxis 7. What had reduced such a vibrant world to ashes? What had caused the sudden collapse of the Yvani civilization? These questions echoed through the halls of the station, stirring curiosity, concern, and a whisper of something more, an ancient enigma buried beneath layers of war and time. Late one evening, as the station's artificial night settled softly around them, Yarok and the alien mother who revealed her name as Lyra sat together in a quiet observation chamber. The vastness of space stretched endlessly beyond the transparent walls, stars flickering like distant promises in the void. Lyra's voice was steady but tinged with sorrow as she recounted the history of her people, the Yvani, masters of cosmic knowledge, whose ambitions had outpaced even the greatest galactic empires. Their quest for understanding had led them to uncover secrets that some believed were best left buried. A forgotten artifact, a source of immense power, had been found deep beneath their homeworld's surface. Its discovery had sparked greed, fear, and ultimately, a war that shattered their worlds. Yarok listened intently, sensing the weight of history pressing down on her words. "Do you believe this artifact still exists?" he asked softly. Lyra nodded. "If it does, it could hold the key to restoring my people or to destroying what remains of us forever. That is why the Federation must act swiftly. But I fear we are not the only ones seeking it." The implication was clear. Forces far darker and more ruthless than mere scavengers prowled the edges of the galaxy, willing to exploit the ruins of Tralaxis 7 for their own ends. The fragile alliance between human and alien had taken on new urgency, a mission not only of survival, but of safeguarding a legacy that could alter the balance of power across the stars. In the days that followed, preparations were made for a return to the devastated planet, not as victims, but as seekers of truth. Yarok trained with the Federation's special units, honing skills that would protect them from both environmental hazards and hostile factions lurking in the shadows. Lyra studied maps and ancient texts recovered from her people's archives, piecing together clues that might lead them to the artifact's resting place. Yet beneath the surface of this unfolding adventure lay a deeper, more personal journey, a bond between two souls from worlds apart, united by loss, hope, and an unspoken promise. Lyra found solace in Jarek's unwavering presence, a steady anchor amid the turmoil of her past and the uncertainty of what lay ahead. And Yarok discovered in her strength and resilience a reason to fight, not just for duty or honor, but for the fragile flicker of life that had touched his heart on a desolate world. As the stars wheeled silently overhead, the station pulsed with quiet anticipation. The next chapter of their story was about to begin, one written in the language of courage, sacrifice, and the unyielding will to protect what mattered most. The moment of departure arrived with a quiet gravity that filled the Federation station with an electric hum of anticipation. Yarok and Lyra stood side by side on the observation deck, watching the pale blue shuttle preparing for descent back to the scarred surface of Tralaxis 7. This time, they were not desperate fugitives, but emissaries of hope and determination, armed with knowledge, technology, and a shared purpose to uncover the truth buried beneath the ash. As the shuttle sliced through the dusty atmosphere, the devastation of the planet sprawled beneath them in brutal clarity. Vast wastelands stretched endlessly, punctuated by the shattered remains of cities and the occasional flicker of strange, unnatural lights deep within craters, signs of unknown activity. Lyra's heart ached at the sight of her homeworld, once vibrant and alive, now a graveyard whispered on by the stars. Their landing site was chosen carefully near the remnants of the ancient capital, a sprawling ruin that housed the last known location of the mysterious artifact. The air was thick with radiation and the scent of decay, but the technology shielding their suits kept the worst of it at bay. Jarek's pulse quickened not with fear, but with the weight of the mission ahead. Every step into the ruins was a step into history and danger intertwined. They moved cautiously, navigating the twisted metal corridors and crumbled halls where echoes of a lost civilization whispered secrets only the brave dared to seek. As they descended deeper into the labyrinthine undercity, ancient glyphs etched into the walls began to glow faintly under Lyra's touch, pulsing with an energy that sent shivers down her spine. The artifact was near. Suddenly, a low rumble shook the chamber. The ground trembled as hidden defenses remnants of the Yvani's ancient security systems awoke from their long slumber. Walls shifted, and barriers flickered to life, forcing the duo into a desperate scramble. Jarek's training kicked in. He activated his energy shield, deflecting blasts of crackling energy as they pressed forward, Lyra deciphering the glyphs to disable traps. Finally, they entered a vast chamber bathed in an ethereal glow. At its center lay the artifact, a crystalline orb suspended above a pedestal, swirling with incomprehensible energy. Lyra's breath caught in her throat as she reached out, sensing the immense power contained within. It was beautiful and terrible, a beacon of hope and destruction intertwined. But their arrival had not gone unnoticed. From the shadows emerged a rival faction, mercenaries hired by unknown enemies intent on seizing the artifact for their own dark purposes. The ensuing confrontation was fierce and desperate, gunfire echoing off ancient walls, alliances tested in the crucible of survival. With Jarek's expert marksmanship and Lyra's strategic mind, they fought with determination born of survival and hope. When the dust settled, the mercenaries were driven back, but the danger was far from over. Holding the artifact was a burden, its power a double-edged sword that could save or doom. Together, they vowed to protect it, to ensure that the legacy of the Yvani would be a beacon for future generations, not a weapon of annihilation. Chapter 4: A New Dawn Among the Stars. Back aboard the Federation station, the artifact was secured within a containment field designed to stabilize its volatile energy. Scientists and scholars from across the galaxy gathered, eager to study the relic that had once threatened to undo an entire civilization. Yet Lyra and Jarek understood that this was not merely an object of power, it was a symbol of resilience, sacrifice, and the enduring bond between species. Lyra's strength had returned, not just physically, but in spirit. She began to speak at interstellar councils, sharing the story of her people's fall and the hope for rebirth. Jarek stood by her side, his presence a testament to the unexpected friendships forged in the crucible of hardship. Together, they inspired new alliances, bridging gaps once thought insurmountable. As the stars wheeled overhead, a new chapter began not just for Lyra and her child, but for all who believed in the power of compassion, courage, and unity. The galaxy was vast, its dangers many, but within it thrived the unbreakable spirit of those who dared to hope. And somewhere, in the vast expanse of space, the soft cry of a child, alien yet familiar, reminded all that life, in its most fragile form, was worth every sacrifice. The containment chamber's hum was steady, a constant reminder of the power they now held within their grasp. The crystalline orb rested on its pedestal, alive with shifting light and impossible energy patterns that danced like fire trapped in glass. Scientists crowded the observation deck, their voices hushed in awe and cautious excitement. Yet among all the calculations and theoretical debates, Lyra and Jarek understood the artifact was more than a scientific marvel. It was the soul of a fallen civilization and a key to the fate of countless lives yet unborn. Lyra had spent countless hours sharing her people's history, their triumphs and tragedies, the pride of the Yvani civilization, and the catastrophic war that had shattered it all. Her story resonated deeply across the Federation, inspiring empathy and renewed dedication to interstellar cooperation. The child she carried, now stronger and thriving under expert care, was a living testament to resilience and the promise of renewal. Jarek, too, found a new purpose beyond the battlefield. His role as protector had evolved into that of a guardian and ambassador, bridging two worlds once divided by suspicion and fear. Together, he and Lyra traveled through Federation halls, advocating for alliances that transcended species and histories, urging the galaxy to learn from the past, and unite against the darkness looming beyond. But peace was never simple in the vastness of space. Shadowy factions who coveted the artifact's power still lurked, their intentions far from benevolent. Intelligence reports spoke of mercenaries, warlords, and rogue scientists eager to exploit the orb's secrets for domination or destruction. The Federation responded swiftly, establishing a protective coalition dedicated to guarding the artifact and the fragile hope it represented. Within this new alliance, Lyra found herself at the heart of a movement, one that would rebuild the Yvonne legacy not as conquerors, but as partners in the galaxy's grand tapestry. Her strength and wisdom earned her respect, not just as a survivor, but as a visionary leader. One quiet evening, as the twin moons of the Federation station cast their gentle light, Lyra stood beside Yarrick on the observation deck. The stars stretched infinitely beyond, a vast sea of possibility. The child, now toddling and curious, giggled softly in a corner play area, a symbol of hope shining brightly against the cosmic darkness. Lyra turned to Yarrick, a faint smile touching her lips. "This is just the beginning," she said. "For my people, for you, for all of us." Yarrick nodded, eyes reflecting the starlight. "We'll face whatever comes together." And as the galaxy whispered its endless secrets, the human and the alien mother stood united, guardians of a future born from desperation and kindness, a future where no cry for help would go unanswered. Days melted into weeks aboard the Federation station, yet time seemed irrelevant in the grand unfolding of fate. The alien mother, Lyra, had blossomed from a fragile survivor into a figure of quiet strength and unwavering resolve. Her child, once a wisp of life threatened by starvation, now laughed and reached out to the universe with innocent wonder, a living emblem of hope rising from the ashes of devastation. Together with Yarrick, whose steadfast courage had bridged the abyss between their worlds, she began to weave a new chapter for her people and the galaxy at large. The artifact, carefully contained yet pulsating with boundless energy, revealed tantalizing glimpses of its secrets to the Federation's best minds. It was more than a relic, it was a catalyst, a beacon meant to safeguard life and knowledge, a repository of the Yvonne's greatest achievements and deepest warnings. Lyra's warnings resonated across council chambers and war rooms alike, a sobering reminder of the fragility of peace and the perils of unchecked power. Yet in the quiet moments, away from the politics and intrigue, it was the simple acts of compassion that defined their journey. Yarrick and Lyra shared stolen hours beneath the glittering expanse of stars, their conversations weaving through memories, hopes, and the unspoken bond forged through shared hardship. The galaxy, vast and indifferent, seemed a little smaller when two hearts beat in unison across light years of space. Word spread throughout the Federation and beyond of the Alliance, born on Tralaxis 7. It inspired other worlds, fractured and weary from endless conflict, to reconsider old enmities and to seek unity in diversity. Aid poured into the dying worlds, rebuilding cities, restoring ecosystems, and offering sanctuary to the displaced. The echo of a mother's desperate cry had sparked a movement that transcended species, cultures, and histories. One evening, as Lyra cradled her child, now teetering on the cusp of toddling steps, a new transmission crackled through the station's comms. A message from the outer reaches of the galaxy. A distant planet, once thought lost, had sent a similar plea for aid. Without hesitation, Yarrick looked at Lyra, their shared resolve clear. The call for compassion and courage was unending. "Let's answer it," Lyra whispered, her voice steady with newfound strength. Yarrick nodded, a faint smile playing on his lips. Together. And so, beneath the eternal canopy of stars, the human and the alien mother embarked on a new voyage, not as strangers thrown together by circumstance, but as pioneers of hope and guardians of life. Their story, born from hunger and despair, had become a beacon shining across the cosmos, a testament to the enduring power of empathy. The universe was vast and often cruel, but within its infinite expanse, kindness could echo louder than war, and a mother's cry could touch the heart of a stranger, reminding all that no one should ever face the darkness alone.